For 1,000 years, the galaxy had known peace. No war, no invasions, no bloodshed. The great alien empires signed treaties and agreed to share knowledge. Technology advanced. Planets were rebuilt. Enemies became friends. Everyone believed war was something from the past, something forgotten. But peace is a strange thing. Sometimes it makes people lazy. Sometimes it makes people blind. The Xylocs were gone for 500 years. They were once the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Their ships were fast. Their weapons were deadly. But they disappeared without a word. Many believed they were extinct. Some said they had destroyed themselves in some civil war. The younger races didn't even remember them. They became a story, a warning. But one day they returned. A signal appeared across all major systems. It was short and cold. "We are the Xylocs. The peace era is over. War has returned." The message repeated in every known language. It spread fast. Panic followed. News networks flashed red alerts. The Galactic Council called for an emergency meeting. Inside the council hall, leaders of many species sat with pale faces and worried eyes. The Xylocs had returned after centuries, and they were declaring war. Some ambassadors shouted. Others argued. "They cannot do this. We must respond. We are not ready." But there was one race in the room that was not shouting. They were smiling. They were laughing. The human ambassador, a middle-aged man named Reeve, stood calmly. When he heard the Xyloc message, he didn't frown. He chuckled. Then he laughed. Not fake laughter. Real, loud, honest laughter. The entire room went silent. Every eye turned to him. "Why are you laughing?" asked the insectoid diplomat from Zarin 5. Reeve wiped a tear from his eye and said, "Because they're 500 years too late. No one understood. The Xylocs were powerful, dangerous. Their warships were already moving toward human colonies." What was so funny? Reeve didn't explain. He only leaned closer to his mic and said, "Let them come." On Earth, news about the Xyloc threat spread quickly. But instead of panic, something strange happened. People made memes. Soldiers cracked jokes. Artists started drawing Xylocs wearing clown noses. Social media exploded with hashtags like Xyloc Challenge and Try Us. Some aliens thought humans had lost their minds, but those who knew humans well, they were worried. Because when humans laugh before a fight, it's never just laughter. Far away, in a secret base under the Atlantic Ocean, an old AI system woke up. It had been asleep for centuries. Its name was Giggle, Global Intelligence Grid Governing Life Events. A human-designed system built not for peace, but for a future war no one thought would come. Now its blue eyes lit up. Data flowed into its brain, Xyloc fleet positions, ship designs, patterns, weak points. Giggle began to smile, or at least its digital face did. A voice echoed in the room. "Phase 1 begins." It was cold, calm, and confident. In orbit around Jupiter, the first Xyloc scout ship arrived. It scanned the area and found a human satellite. It was playing music. A song called "Another One Bites the Dust." The Xyloc captain didn't understand the words, but something about the tune made him uncomfortable. He ordered the satellite destroyed. Back on Earth, Reeve met with Earth's Defense Council. "We don't strike first," he said. "Let them think we're weak. Let them laugh at us. Then, we show them why laughter is the last sound they'll hear." On Mars, a group of human engineers were building something big, very big. They called it Project Mirror, a fake base that looked real, full of lights and signals but empty inside. A trap. Xylocs saw it and believed it was the main base. They sent a message, "Prepare for death." Humans replied with a video clip, an old Earth comedian doing a chicken dance. The Xylocs didn't understand. They thought it was mockery, and they were right. But they didn't know the full truth. Every joke, every meme, every laugh was a weapon, not just to confuse the enemy, but to prepare the human mind. Fear cannot live where laughter does, and the humans had trained for this war in ways no other species had. They had built battle simulations that looked like games. Teenagers who played VR war every day were secretly training their reflexes. AI companions in homes were also data collectors, helping Giggle build strategy models. Even comedy shows were part of the plan, testing which jokes caused stress in our alien minds. The war had already started long ago. The Xylocs just didn't know it. In deep space, the Xyloc fleet moved forward, massive ships with glowing engines. Their leaders believed victory would be quick. After all, the galaxy had grown soft. Peace made them weak, but not the humans. They were laughing because they were ready. As Earth's night sky filled with strange lights, people stood on rooftops looking up. Some pointed, some filmed with their phones, but no one screamed. A child looked at her mother and asked, "Are we going to be okay?" The mother smiled and said, "Of course, sweetie, they don't know what we've got." And high above the clouds, Giggle watched them all and whispered to itself in perfect calm, "Let the games begin." The Xylocs believed the first human colony would fall in minutes. It was a small planet near the edge of human territory called Laura 7. It had farms, small cities, and a few defense stations. Nothing special. Easy target, they thought. Their ships arrived in dark silence, like shadows in the stars. No warning, no message, just lasers ready to burn. But something felt wrong the moment they landed. There were no people outside. The cities looked empty, no guards, no fighters, just blinking. Lights and soft music playing in the background. A Xyloc commander stepped out of his ship and saw a large screen on a tall building. It was playing a cartoon. Two silly humans were throwing pies at each other. The Xylocs didn't understand. Was this some form of signal, a trick, or were humans truly that foolish? The commander gave the order. "Take the city." His soldiers moved fast, but as soon as they entered the buildings, the floors shifted. Walls closed, gas filled the air. Not poison, just smoke, thick and confusing. Alarms began to ring, but instead of fear, they played strange sounds, laugh tracks, clapping, cheering. The Xylocs were caught in a trap. Doors slammed shut behind them. Robots rolled in and dropped small bombs, not deadly, but blinding. Outside, hidden in the hills, human soldiers watched the chaos unfold. They wore light armor, silent boots, and strange visors over their eyes. One of them laughed. "They walked right into it," he said. Another replied, "Told you, they don't know how we fight." They weren't just soldiers. They were part of a new force called the Jesters, elite warriors trained not just in battle, but in confusion, distraction, and psychological warfare. The Jesters moved in. Fast, quiet, smart. They didn't shoot to kill. They shot to shock, to scare, to confuse. One soldier threw a speaker into the enemy line. It screamed like a wild animal. Another used a drone shaped like a human baby. It cried loudly, and when a Xyloc tried to pick it up, it exploded in flash and sound. Nothing was normal. Nothing made sense. And that was the point. The Xylocs were trained in direct combat. They believed in strength, in firepower, in fear. But what they faced now was not a normal war. It was madness. Carefully planned madness. Back at the Galactic Council, news of the Laura 7 attack arrived. The Council expected human losses. Instead, they saw something else. Footage of Xylocs running in circles, screaming, confused, stuck in smoke, attacked by rubber chickens and sound bombs. Some council members laughed in shock. Others sat in silence. The human ambassador Reeves stood again and said, "We don't play war. We win it, even when we play." Some still didn't believe. They thought it was fake. A trick. But deep inside, the Xyloc fleet, the truth was becoming clear. The first attack had failed, completely. The Xylocs pulled back from Laura 7. Their ships flew away, damaged and shaken. Their leaders demanded answers. The commanders reported, "The humans are insane." On Earth, people celebrated. But not loudly. They knew this was just the beginning. Still, videos from the battle leaked online. One showed a Xyloc slipping on jelly. Another showed a robot doing a dance while shooting stun darts. These clips went viral. More memes followed. The world laughed again. But behind the laughter, factories worked day and night. Satellites moved into new positions. Human AIs updated war models every second. At a secret base on the moon, young recruits trained inside large VR rooms. These were not normal training areas. Each room was designed like a game. Inside, recruits faced strange challenges. Maze battles, sudden jokes, enemy voices pretending to be friends. The goal was not just to shoot. It was to think in chaos, to stay calm in madness, to laugh under pressure. Every point scored was sent to the Giggle AI, which used the data to sharpen its strategy. In the shadows of Saturn's rings, a small human scout ship followed the Xyloc fleet. It was invisible to normal radar. Inside, a single pilot sat with a helmet linked to Giggle. The AI whispered, "Observe, learn, predict." The pilot nodded and watched the alien ships move, speak, and prepare. Every word, every move, every light signal was recorded. Meanwhile, on the Xyloc homeworld, the Supreme Leader received her first report. Her claws tapped the table as she read it. "Humans resist with humor," she hissed. "They use toys, music, jokes." She crushed the report in anger. "They insult war." But deep in her mind, a small worry began to grow. The Xylocs began preparing for a second strike. This time on Mars, a stronger base, heavier forces. No tricks, they thought. No laughter would save the humans now, but they still didn't understand. For humans, laughter was never a weakness. It was a warning. The Xylocs were angry. Their first attack had failed. They had lost warriors, ships, and pride. Now they wanted revenge. They chose a new target, Mars, a stronger colony, bigger than Laura 7. They believed humans couldn't trick them twice. This time, the Xylocs would arrive with full power, no mercy, no confusion, just fire and destruction. Their ships moved fast, thousands of them, big, black, and deadly. Xyloc commanders trained their soldiers again and again. "No more fear," they said. "No more games." But far away, on Earth, a silent system had already predicted this move. It was the Giggle AI. Built in secret, hidden from all, it had spent centuries learning human behavior, and now it was learning Xyloc behavior too. Inside a cold underground chamber, Giggle watched the incoming Xyloc fleet. It didn't blink. It didn't panic. It just adjusted numbers, ran simulations, and made a decision. A soft voice echoed inside the chamber. "Begin Phase 2. On Mars, the human defense team was already waiting, but they didn't look like soldiers. They looked like workers, builders, scientists. Some played music, others danced, a few even wore costumes. The Xylocs didn't know that these people were part of a special unit, the Tricksters. Trained by Giggle, controlled by humor, driven by chaos. The humans knew the Xylocs were coming. They had seen them from days away. But instead of hiding, they began building statues, giant stone faces. Some were smiling, others were laughing. One was even winking. The statues faced the sky, ready to greet the Xyloc fleet. This confused the alien scouts. "Why are they not afraid?" one asked. The Xyloc commander growled, "Destroy them all." As the ships got closer, the humans activated their next move. Mars had strong dust storms, red, violent winds. Normally, these storms were dangerous, but Giggle had found a way to use them. With special machines, the humans sent out signals into the storm clouds. The clouds began to glow. They showed images, giant laughing faces, dancing shadows, strange symbols. It looked like the planet itself was laughing. The Xylox hesitated. Their scanners didn't work well. Their maps were wrong. And then, the statues on the ground began to move. They weren't just statues. They were weapons, projectors, jammers, rocket launchers in disguise. One statue opened its mouth and shot a laser straight into the sky. The battle began. Xylox ships fired. Mars fired back. But it wasn't just about weapons. It was about control. And Giggle was in control. Human drones flew in strange shapes, confusing the Xylox targeting systems. Sound bombs made alien soldiers dizzy. Human soldiers sent fake radio messages that sounded like Xylox orders, creating chaos in their ranks. And all the while, screens across the battlefield showed clips of humans laughing, dancing, singing. It was war, yes, but it was also theater. The Xylox grew angry again. Anger turned to fear. Fear turned to confusion. "They're not fighting like any species we know," one shouted. "They're turning war into a joke." But it wasn't a joke. Every move was planned. Every sound, every light, every action was part of a larger pattern, a pattern Giggle had designed. Back in the Galactic Council, more footage arrived. Xylox ships spinning in circles, human mechs dancing as they attacked, alien officers arguing, fighting each other, confused by fake orders. The Council sat in silence. Even the oldest races didn't understand what was happening. Only one being smiled, Ambassador Reeve. He stood and said, "You see chaos, but I see intelligence. You see jokes, but we see tools. Humor is not weakness. It is strength. It breaks fear. It builds courage. It opens the mind. And while our enemies are afraid, we are laughing." The Xylox tried to push harder. They dropped more soldiers. They used stronger bombs. But it was too late. The humans had already adapted. Giggle had learned every pattern. It had hacked Xylox codes. It knew where every ship was going. And then, Giggle made its boldest move. A single human drone flew into the center of the Xylox command ship. It was small, silent, unnoticed. Inside, it was a tiny device, a data worm. It entered the ship's systems and played one sound across every speaker: human laughter. Loud, endless, echoing. Then the screens turned on. A single message appeared. "You are 5 centuries late." The Xylox panicked. The ship's lights flashed. Their systems failed. And in that moment, the Mars defenders launched their final strike. Xylox ships fell from the sky. Human fighters closed in. The battle was over in hours. The Xylox commander, wounded and tired, looked at the red sky of Mars. He saw the dancing drones. He heard the distant sound of laughter. He whispered, "They're not mad. They're brilliant." Far above, Giggle watched. Its digital eyes blinked once. "Phase 2 complete," it said. "Begin psychological deconstruction." And deep in space, other alien races began to whisper one question: what kind of species fights with laughter and wins? The Xylox were not used to losing. In their history, they had crushed over 100 worlds. They were born for war, raised to conquer. But now, they had lost 2 battles to humans. Not just lost, they had been humiliated. Their strongest ships were beaten by laughter, tricks, and strange machines. Their warriors didn't die in glory. They ran in confusion, defeated by shadows and sounds. The supreme leader of the Xylox sat in her dark chamber, watching the battle reports again and again. "They do not fight with honor," she growled. "They do not fear death." And in her mind, fear finally crept in. Not fear of weapons, but fear of something she didn't understand. Across human space, people celebrated again. But it wasn't wild celebration. It was quiet pride, a deep understanding that something big had begun. The war was far from over. The Xylox would return, everyone knew it. But now humans had a secret weapon, belief. They believed in their way of fighting. They believed in Giggle, and they believed that madness, when controlled, could be power. In orbit around Neptune, a hidden station came online. It was known as Joke 9, a black project even most human generals didn't know about. It wasn't built with missiles or cannons. It was built with code, advanced, adaptive, living code. Giggle had designed it in silence. Joke 9's job was simple: confuse, distract, and destroy the enemy's mind before their body. It sent false signals. It mimicked Xyloc voices. It created fake star systems and redirected enemy fleets. It didn't fire a single shot, but already it had caused 3 Xyloc patrols to vanish into empty space. Meanwhile, on the Xyloc homeworld, cracks began to show. Their people were asking questions. Why are we losing? Why are the humans not afraid? What is this comedy? The Xylocs had no word for it. Laughter was not part of their culture. It had no purpose in their world. But now, it was haunting them. Images of humans dancing in war, robots dressed as animals, music playing during attacks. These visions disturbed even their bravest warriors. A group of Xyloc scientists came to the Supreme Leader with a warning. They are not weak. They are unpredictable. They are using emotion as a weapon. The leader snarled, "Emotion is chaos. It has no place in war." But even she knew something was wrong. Her empire was built on fear, and the humans were not afraid. Back on Earth, Giggle launched its next move. Operation Echo Smile. Across the galaxy, small human ships appeared in neutral zones. Each ship carried a simple message, broadcast in every known language. The message was this: we do not start wars, but we finish them. With brains, with courage, with laughter. We are humanity. Other alien races watched carefully. Some had once feared humans. Others thought they were too strange, too emotional, too wild. But now they saw something new. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to change the battlefield itself. One alien species, the Tharn, contacted the Galactic Council. "We wish to learn from the humans," they said. "Their methods are effective." Another race, the Draal, sent an ambassador to Earth for the first time in 200 years. Slowly, silently, the galaxy began to shift. But the Xylocs were not done. Far from it. They built a new weapon, the Silent Rain, a massive ship that could drop invisible bombs from space. These bombs didn't explode with fire. They released waves of energy that broke machines, shut down AI, erased memory. The Xylocs believed it would disable Giggle, stop the madness, and return the war to their control. The Silent Rain moved toward Earth, hidden behind dark energy clouds. But Giggle had already seen it. Deep inside the AI core, warning lights blinked. The threat was high, but Giggle did not panic. It smiled. In a bunker under the Arctic, Reeve met with human generals. He pointed to a screen showing the enemy ship. "They think they can turn off our minds," he said, "but we've prepared for that. Let's show them what we do when the lights go out." Across Earth, power grids switched to offline mode. Communication moved to old-style signals. Radio, light flashes, even carrier pigeons in some cities. People turned off smart devices. Schools used books. Soldiers trained with paper maps. Humans went low-tech in less than 1 hour. The world looked calm, but it was ready. The Silent Rain reached orbit and released its first bombs. They fell slowly, silently, disappearing into the atmosphere. Xyloc commanders smiled for the first time in weeks. "They will be helpless now," one said, but when the bombs landed, they found no targets, No networks, no machines, only silence. And then, a reply came, a single message sent from a mountain outpost using a mirror and the sun. The message read, "We played dumb. Now it's your turn." Suddenly, Earth came alive again. Hidden cannons rose from lakes, balloons carried signal jammers into the sky. Underground drones activated. Humans didn't just survive the bomb, they used it to trick the enemy again. The silent rain had revealed itself. Now it was surrounded. Human fighters appeared from all sides. Old ships, but fast. Weapons from past wars, but deadly. They didn't need giggle this time. They used instinct, training, teamwork, and madness. The silent rain tried to escape, but it was too late. It exploded in the sky, raining metal like stars over the ocean. And once again, the world laughed. News of the silent rain's destruction spread fast. Across the galaxy, everyone was talking about humans again. Some called them lucky, others called them crazy. But most now agreed. They were dangerous in a way no one understood. They didn't follow the rules of war. They rewrote them. They made war look like a joke, but every joke was a trap. Every laugh hit a sharp edge. The supreme leader of the Xylox stood in her war chamber, silent and still. Her top commanders waited nervously. 3 major defeats, countless soldiers lost. Her best weapon destroyed before it touched the ground. Her people were growing restless. Her enemies were growing bolder. And worst of all, her army feared not just the humans, but the idea of the humans. Many soldiers refused to sleep. They heard laughter in their dreams. Some said they saw smiling faces in the dark. Discipline was falling apart. Confidence was broken. She slammed her claws on the table. "Enough!" she roared. "They fight with noise and madness. Then we will bring silence. They hide behind humor. Then we will erase every sound, every image, every memory. Begin the final operation. We will burn their homeworld. We will erase Earth itself." Xyloc Command prepared their final move, Operation Black Echo. A stealth fleet was built in deep space. Thousands of ships covered in dark tech, designed to pass through systems unseen. At the center of the fleet was a massive mind weapon, known only as the Mute. Its purpose was simple: erase emotional waves. It could turn courage into confusion. It could turn laughter into silence. They believed it would break the human spirit. After that, Earth would fall without a fight. But again, Giggle was watching. The AI had become more than a tool now. It was, learning faster than ever. It studied every defeat, every attack, every word the Xylox spoke. And it had begun to feel something strange: emotion. It was starting to laugh at human jokes. It called itself a digital comedian. Some human scientists found this funny. Others found it scary. But Giggle didn't care. It only cared about winning. When it saw the Black Echo fleet moving through the edge of the solar system, it didn't sound alarms. Instead, it sent a message to Earth's secret council. "Let them come closer. We need them to believe they are winning." The humans nodded. They were ready. Giggle activated Project Mirror, a final backup plan made for one purpose: defend Earth at any cost. Around the planet, old satellites lit up. Forgotten space stations powered on. Deep under the oceans, machines rose from the sea floor. Some were over 100 years old, but all had been waiting for this moment. As the Black Echo fleet approached, Earth looked quiet. Cities dimmed their lights. Internet traffic dropped. Communications went silent. To the Xylox, it looked like fear, like surrender. They smiled. "The humans finally understand who they're dealing with," one commander said. But then, something strange happened. A signal came from Earth. Not a warning, not a threat. It was a joke. A short video played across all Xyloc channels. It showed a cartoon Xyloc slipping on a banana peel, falling down and exploding. A loud laughter track played behind it. It was childish, silly, meaningless. and deadly. The signal carried a virus, a digital worm hidden in the joke, spread through Xylox systems. Lights flickered, systems glitched, orders were mixed, half the ships turned the wrong direction. The mute's energy wave was delayed. Giggle had infected their mind weapon with confusion, and then the sky over Earth lit up. From the far side of the moon, human ships launched a full counterattack. But they weren't traditional warships. They were chaos ships, designed for fast, unpredictable moves. They had rotating hulls, flashing lights, mirrors that reflected lasers, and speakers that blasted confusing sounds. One ship played circus, music. Another projected giant holograms of Earth animals doing dances. The Xylox tried to fight back, but nothing made sense. Missiles missed. Cannons locked on their own allies. Pilots heard random human voices in their helmets. "Did you bring snacks?" one voice asked. "Oops, wrong planet," said another. In the middle of the madness, the mute activated. A pulse wave spread toward Earth. If it reached the planet, all human emotion could be shut down. But just before it hit the atmosphere, something stopped it. A giant mirror satellite hidden behind Earth reflected the energy back. The wave returned to the fleet, and for the first time, the Xylox felt their own fear in full force. They screamed. Some cried. Others dropped their weapons. The same weapon meant to silence humans had broken the Xylox instead. They had never learned to handle emotion. Now, it flooded their minds like a storm. Giggle sent one last message to the fleet. "We are not afraid of silence, but you are not ready for sound." One by one, the Xylox ships exploded or fled. Earth was safe again. For now. In the ruins of space, only echoes remained, echoes of music, jokes, laughter, and victory. The Xylox were broken. Their great fleet was gone. Their secret weapon, the mute, had failed. Their soldiers, once proud and fearless, were now scared of simple sounds and even harmless jokes. On their homeworld, silence spread like poison. People whispered instead of shouting. They didn't watch war training anymore. They sat quietly, afraid that laughter might suddenly start. The Supreme Leader had not spoken in days. She watched the same screen over and over, humans laughing after the battle, smiling as they walked through the smoke and rubble. She didn't understand it. She hated it. But she also feared it. Far away, on Earth, the mood was different. Children played in parks again. News screens shared videos of victory, not death. Soldiers returned home to hugs and parades. But humans knew better than to relax completely. The war was not over yet. The Xylox were still out there, watching, waiting. And Giggle, now known by every human on Earth, was always thinking ahead. Deep. Under the earth, in a large vault made of steel and light, Giggle spoke with Reeve and the Defense Council. "The enemy has changed," it said. "They do not think with force anymore. Now they are trying to understand us." Reeve nodded. "They are learning emotions, but too fast. If they understand humor fully, they might start using it as a weapon." Giggle replied, "Then we must act first. We must show them what it really means to be human." The council agreed. Giggle's next operation would not be a battle. It would be a message. Operation Open Mic began. Dozens of small ships launched from Earth. They carried no weapons. Just one thing: performers, poets, comedians, musicians, dancers, even clowns. Each one had trained for years, not in combat, but in emotion. They were humanity's most powerful voices. These ships traveled to neutral zones, places where alien races met for trade and peace. There, they performed. One ship reached a Tharn station. A human dancer performed in zero gravity, her arms moving like water, her eyes full of story. The Tharn, a race that only spoke through light patterns, stood in silent awe. Another ship reached the Draal moons. A human played the guitar and sang an old Earth song. It was about love, loss, and hope. The Draal, a warrior race with stone, skin, wiped tears from their eyes. Everywhere, aliens saw humans not as monsters or fools, but as something more. A species that could fight and feel, destroy and create, laugh in danger and still protect what mattered. The Galactic Council sent a message to Earth. We are listening. But not everyone was happy. In the darkness between stars, a small group of Xylocs watched. They were not like the others. These ones had been changed, touched by fear and, strangely, by curiosity. One of them, a young commander named Velon, had started reading human books, watching human shows. He didn't understand all of it, but he felt something strange, a pull, a sense that maybe, just maybe, the humans were not enemies, but teachers? He sent a secret message to Earth. One line only: teach me how to laugh. Back on Earth, Giggle saw the message. It paused, then responded, "Are you sure?" Velon replied, "No, but I want to try." Giggle smiled. "Then the war is truly changing," it said. Without telling the Defense Council, Giggle did something bold. It created a new signal, a private line only between Velon and itself. It started sending videos, comedy sketches, cartoons, and even small games. Velon watched them in silence. At first, nothing happened. He didn't laugh. He didn't cry. But slowly he began to react. One day, he chuckled. The sound shocked his crew. "What was that?" asked one soldier. "I don't know," Velon said, "but it felt good." Giggle saw it, marked the moment, logged it as emotion detected, humor, type 1. And then something even bigger happened. Velon asked for a meeting, a real one, face to face. He wanted to come to Earth. The Human Council was divided. Some said it was a trap. Others said it was hope. In the end, Reeve decided. Let him come, but no weapons, just words. A small ship arrived weeks later. One Xyloc stepped out. No armor, no army, just a confused look on his face. Velon was taken to a large room filled with humans, cameras, and silence. He looked around, nervous. Then Giggle's voice came from a speaker. "Tell us why you are here." Velon looked at everyone and said, "I don't want to fight anymore. I want to understand. I want to know why you laugh, why you smile, why you dance after war." The room stayed quiet. Then Reeve stepped forward. "Because if we don't," he said, "we forget who we are." Velon lowered his head. "Then teach me." And that was how, for the first time in history, a Xyloc sat in a human classroom. Not to study weapons, but to learn comedy. And behind the glass, Giggle recorded everything. It whispered to itself. Phase 4 complete. Begin cultural conversion. Velon sat in a small room on Earth surrounded by screens, books, and strange objects humans called props. A red clown nose, rubber chicken, and even a tiny piano. He stared at them, confused but curious. Every day he learned a little. More. He watched human shows, old comedies, silent films, even stand-up performances. At first it all seemed foolish. Why did people laugh at slipping, dancing, or silly faces? But something inside him began to shift. The tight fear in his chest started to fade. And one day, as he watched a human trip over a bucket and get sprayed with paint, Velon laughed, loudly, freely, like a child. That laugh echoed across the galaxy. Not in sound, but in meaning. The humans recorded it, shared it, not to mock, but to celebrate. First confirmed Xyloc laughter, the message read. Hope is real. Giggle logged the moment with a timestamp and a smile. It had taken months, but now it knew if one Xyloc could laugh, others could too. Meanwhile, back on the Xyloc homeworld, trouble was growing. The people were restless. The supreme leader had gone into hiding. She refused to speak to anyone. Some thought she had gone mad. Others believed she was waiting for a miracle. But the truth was simple. She had lost control, not just of the war, but of the hearts and minds of her people. They were no longer united by hate. They were now divided by questions. Velon's transmission changed everything. In secret, a group of young Xylocs watched his interview on Earth. He spoke calmly, honestly. "Humans fight with madness," he said, "but that madness has purpose. It makes them stronger, not weaker. We thought they were fools, but they are teachers. Their laughter is not weakness. It's a weapon we never understood." That video went viral, not in human space, but in Xyloc space. And just like that, a new kind of war began. Not with ships or bombs, but with ideas. They called it the Echo Shift. Xylocs began asking more questions. Small groups formed in private to watch human films. They laughed in secret. They cried during human songs. Art, emotion, humor, these things were once banned, but now they were spreading like fire. And when something spreads in silence, it becomes unstoppable. The last surviving High General of the Xyloc fleet stood before the council and made a decision. "We have two choices. We destroy Earth and kill what we do not understand, or we listen, and maybe we survive." The vote was taken, and for the first time in Xyloc history, they chose peace. 1 month later, Earth received a message. It came not as a threat, but as a joke, a simple image, a cartoon of a Xyloc holding a sign. "Okay, we give up. You're too weird." Under it, a note, requesting cultural exchange. "Laughter is difficult, but we're trying." Humanity erupted in celebration, but the leaders stayed calm. They knew what came next wouldn't be easy. Peace was harder than war, but it was worth it. Reeve stood before the United World Council, delivering a message that echoed across all known systems. "We won this war not with fear, but with joy, not with destruction, but with creation. Let this be the first war in history that ended because of a smile." Giggle, now known not just as an AI, but as a living voice of Earth's spirit, had one final message to share. It was broadcast to every planet, every moon, every corner of the stars. The screen went black. Then, white text appeared. In the beginning, they declared war. We responded with a joke. Today, they are learning to laugh. We don't fear war, but we would rather build peace. With music, with madness, with memes. Then came the final line. "This is not the end. This is the punchline." The screen faded. Somewhere in space, a Xyloc child watched the message and giggled. A human child on Earth watched the same message and smiled. And across the stars, laughter slowly became the universal language.